could just tell they never found a flow in Indianapolis with Matt Ryan.
If Frank Reich is going to be the one to go, Chris Ballard ain't far behind.
Keyshawn, J. Will and Max, ESPN Radio, the ESPN app. You can download the podcast. You can see us on ESPNU. You can hear us on your smart speakers. Especially the app, man. Just click more on the lower right-hand corner. Scroll down to live radio. Bam, we're right there. Key J. Frank Reich said Matt Ryan's failure. Remember, they got him for a third-round pick. He didn't go for 2 firsts and a second and 3 linebackers. He went for a third-round pick.
As you reminded us a ton this offseason.
He's 100 years old. But Frank Reich said his failure, Matt Ryan's failure, is on the coaches. Listen to this.
This is another point that needs to be made crystal clear. And I told this to Matt, right? Hey, Matt, we did not hold up to our end of the bargain here, right? I mean, you came here and we promised you a top NFL rushing game and we promised you great protection. And we haven't really, as an offense, delivered on that. And that really starts with me. I've been particularly impressed with Sam this year in practice. Once the season has started, the look he's given on scout team, the quality of his throws, the way he's commanding himself out there, just the total package.
Key?
Frank is right. Mm-hmm. They haven't given him a solid running game. They haven't protected him. I mean, you knew all of that when he came in. That's why it was perfect. That's why many people like myself felt like him going over there with a solid running game and Jonathan Taylor, a nice defense and a nice line protecting him will allow him to do what he could do best at this age. They just haven't done it. And look, they're 3-3-1. We act like they 0-6-1. They're 3-3-1. They won basically 1.5 games behind Tennessee. They're not out of it like that, but we be making it seem like we getting ready to just bury the Indianapolis Colts immediately. And he likes Sam. Sam did a good job in practice, but that's practice. That's scout team. There's cards. They tell you who to throw the football to. It's going to be a little bit different when the real bullets go to flying.
So Frank Reich is on point. I have no fault at what he said, right? He takes accountability, ownership, and that's what a head coach should do, right? So that is a part of the blame on what happened with Matt Ryan. So then I ask rhetorical questions. Is that the same blame with Carson Wentz? Even though they had an elite running game with Jonathan Taylor, who had an MVP-like year? Like, there has to be accountability and culpability there, correct? Is that the same with Jacoby Brissett? I mean, I can go through the list of all the quarterbacks that he has had, and it just starts to pose the question. And I understand there are circumstances and there's nuance to this that would deem, hey, this is why I did it, it won't work. But at the end of the day, for this job, that always falls on the responsibility of the head coach and the GM.
I hear you, Jay, and you have ties to the area, and so you are a little extra emotional about Indy teams,
I'm extra emotional,
Chicago teams, but you're a little bit more like the way I am about my teams that I root for, about Indy teams in Chicago.
No, Max,
teams.
I'm just saying, if any other coach had 6 quarterbacks during their tenure,
we would be quarterbacks. Brissett is a backup for a reason. Carson Wentz teams frequently perform better without him than with him. He has a third down, fourth quarter turnover problem, right? And who else? We talking about the remains of Matt Ryan.
Who went out on a limb to go get Carson Wentz?
Yep, that is completely fair. They need to draft and develop a. Let me ask you this, Key. How many games do you need to see before determining if a new quarterback is going to work with a team, right? Like, because a lot of times we see a lot of guys, new situations, new offense coordinator, new head coach, it's this, it's that. But how long before, Key, you look at it and you go, no, it's not going to work. There's no point in going on.
I mean, you could kind of tell in training camp and practice, things like that, but you also, a handful of games you could tell. But you also got to have full context of everything that's going on. You can't just say, well, he didn't throw the ball, he held onto the ball too long. You have to look at everything. Why is he holding onto the ball too long? Why is he being flushed out the pocket? Why is the defense not backing off in the secondary. You got to look at everything, and I think too many times people don't do that. They look at the box score, they look at the statistics, they look at the QBR, and they start to say, "Oh, he can't play." It's like it's so much that goes together that make a person successful at this position.
So, Key, if the Colts were a quarterback away from getting to an elite level to win a Super Bowl, what do you need to see if you were the owner of the team? If you're Jim Irsay,
they're a long way away from a quarterback right now.
Yeah, I agree. So, what do you need to see from Sam Ehlinger this year in order for Frank Reich to keep his job and Chris Ballard?
Well, I gotta first see if Jim Irsay was the trigger puller to begin with. Remember, he was the guy in the middle of the night talking, after it seemed like he was having some fun in the air on his private jet about how bad, Carson Wentz was essentially, and they need to go get a quarterback. He was the one saying that. So did he but encourage Chris Ballard and Frank Reich to look toward a different quarterback? Did he encourage that? And with that encouragement, they decided to do it. I don't know that their job is going to be on the line like this. I understand what people are saying, but I don't know that their job is going to be on the line. They're not running the ball well. They're not blocking. They're not playing defense. They did lose in 3 years or 2 years. He signed off
shortcuts.
I know he signed off on Carson Wentz for sure because he coached Carson when Carson was playing well for Philadelphia, and you naturally would sign off on somebody you familiar with.
So how many times can you vouch for? Oh, no, we don't need to draft the guy. We could just grab this guy. Trust me, I'm good. You do that 2-3 times and it doesn't work. It's enough, Key, that Jay had a full head of hair when he started rooting for the Colts through this whole process. And if you're worried about hair loss, Bosley, America's #1 hair restoration experts, have you covered. Text WIN, W-I-N, to 2. Yeah, he's got a shirt on. Let you know.
Yeah, that's good.
Living the dream.
Well, it's not really. I mean, this is a T-shirt. It's not really letting you know. But if you want to,
this is letting you know. It's okay.
Yeah.
Nah, living the dream would be doing what you guys do for a living. Being rock stars and television personalities and all that. So that would be living the dream.
I see.
You got an interview tonight with your boy.
Who's my boy?
The captain, Derek Jeter.
Oh, the cap.
The cap.
Jeter.
Can you imagine that?
Jeter.
It's just him and Mark Messier just walking around New York City. Hey, captain. It's pretty cool.
Some people just have won at life, right? Like he's one of those guys where you're like, damn, this guy, it all went too perfect.
Yep, him and Misty Copeland.
So, you know who's not winning right now? Bill Belichick. I'm going to say it right off the top, Key. He was the undisputed GOAT coach of football. There was no one else in the conversation. He might be the GOAT. I'm just saying, now there's a conversation to be had. Here is Bill Belichick during AM press conference. What is AM press conference? You mean during this morning press conference?
Yeah, the morning press conference. Yeah.
As opposed to a PM press conference.
Right. But I thought maybe it was when I read it, reading it, maybe it's AM.
Why is this script in all caps? Why am I yelling?
I am Anchorman. It's true. Here's Bill Belichick on Mac Jones's health and starting status. Okay, you're going to hear the question and you're going to hear Belichick's response.
Is it fair to say if he's healthy, he's the starter?
That's a hypothetical question, so let's see, where that is and what that is.
Was Mac Jones healthy enough to play the entire game last night?
Well, that didn't happen, so that's another hypothetical question.
No, it's not, Key. That's what he said. The question is, was he healthy? He said to play the whole game. He says, well, since he didn't play the whole game, that's a hypothetical question. No, it's not. He asked you if he's healthy or not. It's like he just says whatever he wants.
Well, it's a hypothetical question. He didn't. You know the answer. So why are you asking me a question?
Well, he's saying, was he healthy though?
You got, but if he didn't play the whole game,
optically, it looks like he's healthy, and you want him to find his rhythm in a game like that when you have committed to him moving forward. I mean, you change the offensive coordinator, you lose, your OC to the Raiders. You bring in Matt Patricia, the defensive guy. Joe Judge, we've seen that, Max, last year with the Giants, right? A couple years ago, as a quarterback's coach. You change the entire playbook, and now because things get a little bit challenging, and now there's a quarterback controversy.
I mean, Key, it's a good point. Like, when we talk about quarterbacks in new situations, in a way, Mac Jones, he didn't change teams, but the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, everything like that changed, and he's going into his second year. Not like he's been in the league 5 years and then this happened. Going into his second year. So you can understand why his progress stalls out, because it does look like he made progress last year, right? So why is Belichick messing with the rotation?
But did he really make progress last year, or did because he went to a ninth alternate to a Pro Bowl and a team went to the playoffs that he was making progress? Do we look at it? Do we look at it like that?